Singapore has one of the fastest aging populations in the world. By 2030, 1 in 4 Singaporeans will be aged 65 and above. In preparation for this, aging research has been identified as a key area of focus at the National University of Singapore, or NUS. In 2020, the US National Academy of Medicine awarded 10 NUS project grants of up to $50,000 each to research pioneering solutions for healthy aging. In this episode, we meet some of the key movers and shakers helping to shape the future of aging in Singapore. In 2020, the NUS College of Design and Engineering launched its first Geron Technology course with the aim of designing and developing technological innovations for the silver generation.
My question is really about whether this thing, will be pressed against the wrist and it will be uncomfortable for the user.
The student-centric Be Good initiative under Dr. James Carr is a core part of the curriculum.
When we talk about engineering, a lot of people will think about big mega structure with complex design. But it's also important to remember that engineering is the application of creativity towards solving problems. We want to let our students know the skills that they develop is not going to be just used to build machines and robots for industry use.
Dr. Carr and his students work with the community to co-create usable, affordable technology that enables Singapore's aging population to stay healthy and active. Happy Feet, a game that combines entertainment and exercise, is one such example.
On the screen, there are arrows that are falling down at a certain speed. What they need to do is step on the corresponding arrow on the dance mat to score that point. Some games, such as Dance Dance Revolution, they can't be played by the elderly because it's way too fast. So we cater it more to their speed and we put songs which are more relevant to their generation.
The important thing is where the arrow lands and when you
If I step on it, it doesn't appear.
Very slippery.
Okay. Unlike conventional classes where students do projects that the lecturers give them, students will go down into the community and talk to an actual senior to understand the problem before they develop a solution.
I think it's fun. We enjoy it. This one is better than the previous one.
Very enjoyable. I hope you all can organize more. Let our residents a chance just to take part.
Okay, now, yeah.
I think today's session went really well. However, one thing that we could definitely improve upon was on the stability of the dance mat.
This is something that's very meaningful because there's a lot of human interaction involved and relationships are also built and developed along the way. Every project we do has a real story behind it. I can also remember another project team that Lance Befrienders introduced to an uncle staying in a rental flat, and he is a stroke survivor. He can't use his hand very well to unscrew or tighten a jar, and that's where they came up with Grip Buddy.
Apart from seniors with weakening hand strength and grip, it's also very useful for people with disability that has to do with the upper limb.
你是每次这样开的，一只手。哦，你是这样开的。OK， 安哥不用紧，来，我们现在用这个给你试试看哈。那你看，你可以一个人这样放上去，这样开吗？对。手比较容易开了啊。来，我们来看，你可以开这个OK. This is quite easy.
Yeah.
So I think the design that needs to improve is the
stopper.
一个 stopper 在这里，所以这个整个不会掉下去。
The team now hopes to produce a scaled-up version of Grip Buddy for even more people who need it.
I think definitely we can start 3D printing, get like a final design ideation. Then we can definitely go into bulk production.
Meanwhile, Dr. Carr's colleague, Associate Professor Ray Yeo, is turning to robotics to address challenges faced by senior stroke survivors.
When I move into robotics, I hope to use robotics to enable people with motor diseases to have a better quality of life, using robots to assist their daily living. NUS actually provided us with a substantial R&D infrastructure, which include design studios, research centers, and a good range of innovation programs that allow commercialization of these devices.
One such innovation is the ESO glove.
These actuators are pneumatically powered and controlled to assist with different hand postures and movement. Air pressure will inflate certain parts of the actuator to generate a bending motion. This is typically for patients with hand motor disorders, particularly with stroke patients. It's very important to allow them to undergo rehabilitation as soon as possible. With this glove, they can actually bring it back home, and then they can continue to undergo this hand therapy without the need for a rehab clinic.
The first lab prototype for the ESO glove was developed in 2015. But it took the team 5 years to get the product ready for commercial launch.
So we explore a range of materials, and fabric gave us the most optimum performance where it's lightweight, washable, and we can deliver sufficient assistive force for hand movement as well as durability.
The ESO glove is now used in more than 50 hospitals around the world. For Professor Yeo and his team, it is just the first of many devices that they hope to make available to Singapore's aging community.
The purpose is actually to move towards a hospital-at-home decentralized care model. With our technology, stroke survivors can have access to robot-assisted rehabilitation care to combat cognitive decline, or they have access to very low-cost wheelchair that can enable them to have a better independent mobility.
People in Singapore are living longer, but they're also experiencing longer periods of ill health. To counter this, multiple researchers at NUS are working on innovative strategies to delay aging and prolong disease-free life. To Professor Brian Kennedy, aging is one of the world's biggest biological mysteries.
Both of my grandmothers lived to 100. Many other people in the family lived a long time too. And so I got to watch people getting old, and I wondered, why are some people still active? Why are other people having problems?
And this mystery is one that he has dedicated much of his career to unraveling.
And when I went to graduate school, I wanted to tackle a problem that we really didn't understand yet. And aging seemed the perfect problem because it happens to everybody and we know very little about it.
Previously, medical research was largely focused on understanding and treating diseases. But studies have shown that aging is the biggest risk factor for numerous chronic diseases, which in turn drives up healthcare costs and impairs seniors' quality of life.
If we really want to keep people healthy, we should be targeting aging. I think the biggest misconception is it just happens and there's nothing you can do about it. Chronic diseases are hard to completely reverse. You manage them, people live longer, but if we can slow aging, they won't get the diseases in the first place. The middle-aged population are the ones that are at threat of getting these chronic diseases in the near future. If we can target those people, particularly the ones at highest risk, we can slow or reverse aspects of their aging.
Professor Kennedy heads NUS Medicine's Healthy Longevity Translational Research Program.
And the other thing is we wanted to look at osteoporosis.
It brings together 39 NUS faculty members who specialize in focus areas such as systemic aging, brain aging, vascular aging, and female reproductive aging.
And nothing we're doing now can get us.
Professor Kennedy is working with Professor Andrea Meyer to research on systemic aging. They are trying to understand the mechanisms governing how the body ages as a whole and find ways to slow or reverse the process.
Aging can be very different between individuals. Some are aging faster and some are aging slower. On the one hand side, we have the chronological age, which is the age in the passport, but on the other hand, we can really measure how old your body is, and that's a biological age. If somebody is biologically older, that person might have a bigger chance, a greater risk to have age-related diseases like diabetes or cancer or lung diseases. So it's very important to measure the biological age at earlier ages, because then we could intervene.
At present, biological aging has not been integrated into any mainstream healthcare system. To modify that, the professors are running trials at Alexandra Hospital.
The age reader, what we're doing is to look at your skin's age, okay? There's going to be a light from this device that will shine for about 15 seconds. Just hold still. It's 100% done now. Okay, looks like whatever you're doing, keep it up.
Biological age testing helps to identify specific problem areas so that appropriate treatment can be carried out as soon as possible.
Turn to your right. I'm going to feel your pulse, okay, on your neck.
We are measuring the blood pressure in different big arteries. While becoming older, our vessels become stiffer. The grade of stiffness is associated with the chance of having diseases like a stroke or like a heart attack, etc.
So this pulse width velocity actually tells you how soft your blood vessels are. This scale over here shows you the speed of your blood flow. Mr. Tan is below the mean line, shows that he's really in good shape. Okay, that's one. Okay.
Our skin can be a very, very nice mirror how well our body is aging.
From the way the digital points are positioned, they can then tell you, for example, compared to a 20-year-old, how has your facial shape actually shifted? Using machine learning, big data to find out how you are aging biologically from your face.
Professor Kennedy and Professor Meyer are also co-directors of the Center for Healthy Longevity under the National University Healthcare System. The center is looking into ways to lower biological age, such as lifestyle interventions, supplements, and repurposing medical drugs.
We have a huge number of medications in the past 50 years which positively interfere with the aging process, such as metformin. We give now these repurposed drugs to individuals who are healthy with the aim to prevent the age-related disease like diabetes, cancer, or hypertension or stroke.
Plans are underway to implement lifestyle interventions and introduce novel healthcare concepts to help screen Singaporeans for age-related diseases.
Hopefully in the next 5 to 10 years, we can increase the health span by a couple of years and really show that the magnitude of age-related diseases is much, much lower.
We really have the potential to create this whole pipeline from the best research on aging in Asia all the way through to clinical interventions that extend the health span of the Singapore population. By setting an example in Singapore, we can then export that knowledge to the rest of Asia and hopefully globally.
The increasing needs of Singapore's aging population mean that there will also be a rise in healthcare and other related costs. NUS researchers have also been studying the potential impact this will have on Singapore society and looking for effective ways to handle it. According to a report by professional services firm Marsh & McLennan Companies, elderly healthcare costs in Singapore are projected to rise to a whopping $50 billion yearly by 2030. Assistant Professor Cynthia Chen has been studying the impact this heavy cost of aging will have on Singapore society.
Our average life expectancy in Singapore is 84 years, and our healthy life expectancy is 73. So on average, we spend 11 years in ill health due to chronic diseases and disability. The rapid fertility rate decline meant that the taxable pool of working adults will actually become smaller with time. This will have an impact on the government financial sustainability in the long run. Therefore, we need to be very careful on how we invest our resources now and not just think about aging at the ages of, say, 50, 60, 70.
These are some preliminary estimates on the healthcare costs. Dietary risk actually has the highest healthcare attributable costs of all the other risk factors.
What do you think is the reason?
Maybe because of the easy access to hawker foods. People don't really know how much salt they are taking in, which may be the reason why...
Professor Chen and her team are currently working on the economic burden of modifiable risk factors, a study that highlights the importance of good decision-making as we age.
We try to estimate what the healthcare burden is. How much of the healthcare spending is from factors that we could change across our life, like dietary intake, physical activity, smoking, BMI, things like this. Our preliminary analysis suggests that healthcare burden from modifiable risk factors were highest among dietary risks. The dietary risks are high in sodium, high in red meat, low in whole grains, beans, and fiber. This is followed by a poor management of high blood glucose, high blood pressure, high LDL cholesterol, and followed by smoking. If we are able to shift people's preferences towards a better diet, help people to be healthy for a longer period of time through public health intervention, such as the National Step Challenge, we could potentially reduce healthcare costs. If people don't think about aging well and don't plan their life around being more productive in aging, what we will have in our society is a lot of older adults who have very little resources to continue to their end of life.
Professor Chen and her team are now expanding their research to evaluate the impact of work and retirement on health.
With our retirement age of 62 and our re-employment age of 67, older adults may spend at least 20 years in retirement. Engaging them effectively, finding the right types of activities is often a challenge.
Professor Chen is exploring the possibility of urban farming as a solution with Bjorn Loh, the Executive Director of Edible Garden City.
We're collaborating with NUS School of Public Health on a broader research project on the value of urban farms as care spaces and centres to provide care for the community from an aspect of mental wellness, eating healthily, in a sense to really enforce this productive longevity in the elderly, reduce their propensity to fall ill.
They will be doing things together in terms of farming and learning from each other, and they will be paid for some of the activities that they are doing. Preliminary research has shown that older adults, when exposed to the outdoors, who is able to touch, smell, and the physical activity is helpful for their mental and physical well-being. The more people are engaged, the more they take better care of their well-being, the more they are able to enjoy better health in older ages.
In recent years, Singapore has seen a gradual shift towards aging in place. The provision of long-term care is a crucial, yet often overlooked part of the process. Associate Professor Elaine Ho from the NUS Department of Geography and the Asia Research Institute hopes to change this.
Long-term care is important because long-term care is what enables dignified aging once you are discharged from the hospital. A couple of years before that, my dad had an emergency triple heart bypass. My family and I, we really struggled to find our way around the system. Where do we look for home care? How do we manage the financial costs, etc.? If as a professor I have trouble navigating the long-term care system, then wouldn't it be even more difficult for people on the ground to understand who they can turn to for help and what are the schemes in place that they can use in order to manage long-term care?
In 2017, the Lian Foundation commissioned NUS to carry out a research study on the long-term care landscape in Singapore. The study was co-authored by Associate Professors Elaine Ho and Shalina Huang.
One of our key takeaways has to do with the difference between healthcare and long-term care costs. Healthcare costs have to do with acute care, for example, which Singaporeans are more familiar with because it has to do with MediSave and MediShield. Long-term care, depending on how advanced a senior's needs is, they may require up to $3,100 per month. And part of it has to be paid out of the pocket, meaning you cannot use MediSave, MediShield, or even CareShield Life to pay for all of it. There are many stages of long-term care which families have to be prepared for in terms of financial as well as care needs.
Professor Ho is heartened by the policy changes to address gaps in Singapore's long-term care system.
One of our key recommendations is the importance of giving support to caregivers. So subsequently, we have seen some changes implemented, including more offerings for after-work respite care. We saw the home caregiving grant implemented. We highlighted that it was important to boost the local capabilities of our long-term care sector. Over the years, we have seen some improvements happen through Skills Future, Workforce Singapore, that are more systematic career progression pathways now for long-term healthcare workers. We hope all of society can work together to prepare Singapore for when it becomes a super-aged society in 2030.
At the end of the day, there is no set formula for successful aging. What NUS has shown us, however, is that the current research and innovations can significantly impact communities in Singapore, enabling them to lead longer, healthier, and more productive lives.